All right. Well, now in 3 minutes past two, let's get going with this presentation. Just as we wait for the last one or two late joiners, I'd like to ask you to answer a couple of questions, and that's going to be the theme of today. It's about how we manage security in our organization. How do we actually implement security policies to improve security posture and the processes that are around it in order to reduce the risk of cyber attacks. So just before we start, so have a look at this question and let's see what you guys reply. I mean, I do this at every webinar, and actually, it's quite surprising the results we get. So you should see on your screen now a question about have you ever saved an important password here? And the answers are desktop or text file or notepad or sticky notes. Excel file, I post it on the screen or desk. Trust me, I've done that myself. Or email to self. And see what the answer is. Okay, I can see quite a few people have already voted. Around 88% of voting today. Let's see, come on, just one or two more votes and see what the result is. It's actually quite surprising. I promise I will tell you what the result is. Okay, so let's close this poll. So the interesting part about this is about 71% of us, and we probably all security conscious, all security, all security conscious type of personnel, and we have all a kind of sensitivity towards the security issues in the organization. About 71% of us actually have emailed to themselves a password because probably it was too complex to remember. Okay, so that is just an example, and 100% say that they actually saved it on a desktop file in clear text. And also, this is a very important element. And trust me, today's result is it's quite indicative, but it's very similar to what I actually get every time I do this kind of questions during webinars. So let me go back and try to tell you what is Thycotic Secret Server Solution about it and why this is so relevant today. So first of all, Thycotic is a security company which is not a new kid on the block. It's been around for 10 years. We got 200,000 sysadmins that use our solution. We have thousands of customers spread globally. We have millions of secrets and passwords that are protected by our infrastructure. And we have employees worldwide spread. And this gives you an idea of the type of customers that we have. And you probably be aware of most of the names um, in this slide. But what I wanted to drag your attention on is the fact that companies like Microsoft, they do use our solution for providing a PAM solution. And why is that? It's very simple because companies like Microsoft are more than capable to write their own encryption software, right? We use Microsoft encryption engine. They are more than able to write a vault in terms of the capabilities. Now, what they understand that is a lack of their experience is that the unique capability that you develop working for many, many years, like Thycotic, on a specific niche market, such as the privileged account management, and to understand the reflections that this has in terms of the compliance requirements and regulatory requirements and the security processes that are shaped around this kind of organizational needs. and therefore they use our solution to protect their own secrets. Um, Now, why are these accounts so important? Why do we try to manage them? What is it around this privilege account that makes them so important in today's world? Well, first of all, we have to talk about the fact that most of the accounts we manage are non-humans. Human accounts are fairly easy to manage because they can be reconciled uniquely to an individual. So if you look at the log file in a system and you see, oh, something here has happened, and you can map that activity against an individual, then you can go and speak to that individual and say, hey, what happened here? You can blame the individual, you can do a root cause analysis, you can identify exactly what has happened and why the person has actually acted in a specific way. Now, what has not happened is if that activity happened through a service account in a Windows domain, for example, or a machine account like a Unix account like root, or the local administrator account, that are accounts that are extremely powerful, but they're not necessarily related to a single individual, then obviously it's very difficult to track who was in charge of owning that password at a specific point in time. And that is the first problem that we find around managing these accounts. And so accounts that are extremely privileged in terms of the access they give to the network state and to the IT state and to the data that is contained within an organization, and therefore the problems and exposure towards malware, ransomware, crypto locks, and all of these hacking attacks that are actually on the news every single day. And on the other side, the fact that these accounts are present everywhere. They are in Internet of Things. So they are in every single computer that we run. They are in every single Unix machine, and they're pretty much present everywhere. They're just not managed correctly, and they're very vulnerable because there is no mechanism to actually and processes to actually manage the life cycle of these secrets, which is creating them, rotating the password, making sure the list of people who got access to them is managed somehow, or the fact that you want to, for example, remove a person from having access to a specific account. Um, and the quantity and the number of these secrets is so high that makes it impossible for a manual operation to actually manage those. So you want to be able to do this in an automated way. And these are the type of problems we're trying to solve at Thycotic. And why are they so important? Well, because the industry tell us that basically the vast majority of the attacks are resulting from the abuse of a privileged account at some point, which makes sense because if you look at the capabilities, and I was a few days back, I was on the dark web at night because I couldn't sleep, and I was looking at some of the articles there, and I found this guy that sells a massive DDoS attack with I think 600,000 requests per second, and based on um, about 10,000 servers and clients have been compromised he can control to launch that massive attack against a individual or organization, and it can sustain that for 24 hours. So it's got probably many more than 10,000 servers. So 10,000 are always active at the same time. Probably it's got a pool of 20, 30,000 servers that he can control. And the cost of that is probably, it was, I think, $200 or something like that. The equivalent in Bitcoin, of course. Now, what this made me think a lot. I said, well, how can it be so cheap to get in control or to rent the control for 10,000 servers? But it's very simple because once you get into an organization and the password is the same on every server, then all of a sudden you multiply the effect of the effort that you made, right? So you thought you conquered one machine, instead you have access to the whole estate, so you can control the access and simultaneous requests for multiple machines. Um, and there is so many of them that are actually exposed. Actually, even a massive financial organization not long ago was telling me, "Look, guys, there is a problem in the organization. Some of our senior sysadmins they don't want to rotate the passwords. They just find it too complicated. They think they are above all the other humans, and the password not so important. And these guys got a domain admin credential, so they can actually do anything they want on any asset of the bank. Now that's a massive problem. And if you think about that being multiplied by the number of services accounts that are running in an organization, you understand how many vulnerability points we have in an organization. So the idea is we want to restrict the surface of attack and making sure that there are less and less of these vulnerabilities or the points which make our point of entry into our organization, and therefore allowing people to escalate the privileges from owning access to a compromised target machine to actually elevating themselves to be able to do something much more serious, such as contaminating other computers or accessing sensitive data. Right. So I'm pretty sure this is all that there isn't much new here. But I just want to mention one more thing before we actually looked at the interface of Thycotic. The fact that what are the drivers or what are the feedback we receive from our customers. And in my opinion, these are all very important, of course, and my boss would probably be very happy if I tell you all about it. But I'm not really a marketing person, and I'm kind of strictly technical, and I enjoy part of this, and the fact that the system is very easy to use. It's got a simplified architecture that's able to resolve complex problems without having the need of a complex architecture. So if you look at Thycotic compared to some of the other vendors in the PAM space, please note that I'm using the PAM word rather than the Vault word because we're certainly not in the Vault market. That's kind of basic stepping stone into the first step, I think, into the PAM world, but we're far, far beyond that. So, and the fact that if you want to have systems that integrate automation, discovery, heartbeats, and workflows and processes into the management and of the life cycle of the secrets, then systems tend to be very complex. And they have a number of different components that all are interdependent, and they're difficult to use and difficult to actually realize value once you install them, and it makes you heavily dependent on the vendor in order to be able to maintain that kind of level of value that you are creating. Now, Thycotic is very opposite of this. So we have at heart, we have a solution which is based on um, Microsoft Server 2012 and 2016. We have support for .NET. The application is a .NET application, works on IIS, and we use the .NET framework 4.5.1, 4.5.2, and 4.6, so based on which one of the release of the server you're using. And we make full use of the Microsoft stack when it comes to encryption and connection to the backend database, which is a Microsoft SQL Server. So again, the information is encrypted at application layers. The minute the application layer gets in contact with a secret information, then automatically this gets encrypted, and therefore everything that is at rest or in transit between the backend, the front end, or between the front end and any of the other layers of components of the software within the server, those are already encrypted using AES-256, which is military grade type of encryption, and therefore we have peace of mind that that information cannot really be backwardly engineered to determine the original text. This makes the solution very safe, as I was mentioning, and at the same time very easy to manage and to maintain. It's very simple to get on the market today and find a sysadmin that knows how to configure IIS. It's very easy to find somebody that can start up a SQL Server Management Studio to set up a database and the basic permission around them. And you don't need to have a rocket scientist to get an implementation like this to be sustainable. But at the same time, we can cater for the needs of the larger enterprise. So we have high availability solution where we have multiple backend and front end capability of horizontal and vertical scaling and clustering, so that you have up to 4 front ends, for example, in active mode, plus 2 more as a secondary nodes that you can use for a fairly redundant as you can imagine solution. Um, Here on the left of the slide, you can see the means that we have to access the system. So we have the web browser, the first and foremost and most used application. And we have there the capability to manage the entire life cycle of a secret. We can create secret, we can create users, we can manage the synchronization with Active Directory and with any of the other components of the software. We also have the API, which is, I'm so sorry, what's wrong with my phone today? We also have the capability to integrate directly with an API, which we do support different flavors of it. We have a JSON and XML version of a RESTful and a SOAP version of the API. In terms of web services, we also have a Java native API, and we also have a .NET application API. Which makes it very simple to actually run scripts that can fetch credential directly from SQL Server at runtime, so you don't have to hard code them into the software. But also you can implement separate processes to fill the system with new secrets or change passwords or automate processes that are running on SQL Server and triggering them via external input, such as the API. And the system integrates with two-factor authentication solutions. Natively, we support duo authentication, and we also support any radius-based authentication protocols such as RSA-ID and those different flavors of hard and soft tokens. And on the right side of the slide, you can see instead what is the services that are exported by the system. And here we can see a number. I normally distinct them into three different domains. So the first one would be an automation domain, which means the capability to remove manual workloads in the processes that are required to manage securely the life cycle of secrets in an organization. And these are, for example, the fact that we can run a heartbeat function against the secret. So you have all your secrets securely saved into the vault, but you need to be able to check that those secrets are actually current and are active and are able to they're in sync with what is in the vault and the target machine. At the same time, we have the possibility to remotely change the password for secrets, and we have the this capability embedded into Secret Server, and we have therefore that's called the remote password changing capability and that works for both Windows, Unix, Linux, and we also have support for SSH key rotation. And we have also the capability to integrate to pretty much anything that speaks SSH, Telnet, or Windows authentication mechanism. More on that later on, but this is for the automation. Then we have a different element, which is the workflow. I mean, the way that people interact with the secrets, and such as the session launcher capability to retrieve an automated, a pre-authenticated session against a target machine, whether that's a terminal session or an RDP session against the target machine. It can be done with a click from the web interface. At the same time, we can integrate session monitoring, the capability to have a live streaming of the session to another user, and also to interact with the user or to record the sessions for further processing later on. We have also, in terms of workflow, we look at the alerts and notifications that we can generate into the system, and it's a pretty impressive the amount of information that you can get there. And we can also integrate that directly into a SIEM platform such as Splunk, Logarithm, pretty much anything that speaks a syslog, or Ceph messages that can be incorporated. And the last part and the third part is it's also very important because that distinguishes again the PAM solution from what is typically a vault, and that is the capability to discover new secrets. So as you add more computers to the network, you remove computers, you need to be able to identify all the local administrator accounts that are present on those machines, and all of those services accounts that are running processes on remote machines. And service accounts are very complicated to manage. I mean, one of the large banks in Eastern Europe was telling us they were mandated by the regulator to actually rotate all of those system and services accounts, which normally people don't really do because the obviously implications of that. And it took them almost a whole year to recover from that, to find out exactly which systems were still not running, because they couldn't have a mapping of where these accounts are used in all the state. And we're talking about very large organizations here, so of course. So, but that's something that the Thycotic Secret Server takes care directly and natively from the interface, so we can actually go and connect to a domain and scan all the machines that are connected to it and create those maps so that if you do rotate a service account password, you will also plant the new password into the target machines which are running the services. All right. So, excuse me. This is an example of a workflow. So we have a situation here where at the bottom of the inverted pyramid, you have access to a secret, and if you have access to the secret, you can see the password. But you could build more complex structures when it comes to requested justification, for example, or an approval from another user of the system. Or you could include exclusivity of access to a specific secret and blend that together with automatic password rotation, which means that every day or every now and then I can change the password without me having to go into the system and change the password myself, and maybe creating what is called a one-time password policy for which the password is changed at every session. Now let's look at how this looks into the actual interface. Here we are. I trust everybody can see my screen. And if it is not, guys, please give me a call. But I can see here on this is the main interface and the dashboard of Secret Server. So once you log in with your either AD account or with your Secret Server local database account, you have access to this dashboard. The dashboard includes a folder navigation toolbox here on the left, and folders is very important in a secret server because they give you two functions. The first is the an identity policy function, which tells me who can have access to what. Um, and you can distribute that via geographical location of the network assets rather than the type of network assets, Unix versus Windows, and so forth. At the same time, we can also set policies that are security policies that are applicable to all the secrets that are contained within a folder and its subfolders. So, for example, here I have a Windows local account folder for which I've created that one-time password policy in a secret server, which means that at every session I'll be requested to change the password. So if I look here at the secret server administrator, it's obviously a very important password that I do want to have to manage directly. I don't want to have that unmanaged for any reason. So the system, when I try to log in, asked me to check it out, which means that after the checkout for a period of I think 30 minutes in this case, but can configure that of course to be different. You can. I'm the only one who's got access to this secret. I can see the username. I cannot see the password. I know because of the policy that the password will change at every session, and on top of that, I cannot see it, which is handy, and I'll explain later why. I can also see important information here, such as the fact that the password will expire in 23 days, and therefore the password is okay. I'm okay in terms of compliance. And also tells me that the last heartbeat was today at 12 o'clock. And he was pretty happy to tell me that whatever password is inside here is actually the same one that is on the target machine. Now here on the bottom you can see an icon of what we showed before being a session launcher. So this will give me a pre-authenticated RDP session into the target machine, and there is also a session recording capability which is enabled for this secret. Again, I can enable it on a per secret basis or on a per folder basis based on the policy. So if I click on it and everything works fine, I should be given a pre-authenticated session against my secret saver machine, which is a Windows 2012. Let's see if you recognize the page. Yes, yes, that is the right computer. And yes, we are into the machine right now. Obviously, it didn't restart properly. Um, I can see here that I am the exact same user that I'm supposed to be. I'm secret saver one backslash administrator. I have access to the server dashboard here on the server manager capabilities. I can launch IIS and go and install certificates and do all of the activities I would normally do on a server with administrator rights. Now, when I close the session, the system will automatically check in my secret. So let's do that. And what I can do here is if I can view the audit, which I need to check out the secret for again, because once you terminate an RDP session, if you have exclusive access, that automatically means that the system has actually checked in the secret. And as I was mentioning, if you look at the audit here, you can see the granularity of the information that is captured by the secret, by secret saver in terms of being able to map who was that administrator at that specific point of time. And here it's very simple because you can see here that I checked out the secret at 2:26, about 3 minutes ago. I viewed the secrets and spent some time chatting about the heartbeat and the fact that the password was hidden and the rest of the information I'm giving you. Then I launched a remote desktop session for which I'm waiting to process the movie. And after that, I set the secret for check-in. And that's very important because once you set the secret for check-in, it doesn't necessarily check it in immediately. The first thing it does is it changes the password. And by doing that, it can confirm that the password has been changed. And only at that point, the secret is released for another user to have access to. And that is the example of how this is arranged. Now, how do you configure that in Secret Server? I mean, it's very simple. In this case, it is done by policy, but you can do it also on a per secret basis. What you're gonna do is you can go onto the security tab, and you can see here that there are a few options like a require checkout. Yes, do you want to change the password once you check in? Yes. What's the duration of the checkout interval? And here you can see that there was session recording. Yes, and that the password need to be hidden. And that makes sense because if I'm doing session recording, I don't want people to copy the password into their own RDP client. I just want them to use the one that I provide and I can monitor. All right. So this brings us back to the remote password changing capability. So this is in the secret server, a operation which is split into 4 steps. The first one is the system will generate a new password. And if that is SSH key, that we're using to authenticate, because SSH keys are supported by Secret Server. We can also generate a new private and public keys and also passphrase. And the second step would be to plant those credentials into the target machine. Again, in the case of a SSH key, that would mean going deleting the previous public key, adding the new public key, and making sure that these part of the authorized hosts into the right folder in the Unix machine. And at that point, there would be a heartbeat process that starts and will verify that the password change has been successful. And only at that point, the password will be then encrypted and stored in the system and made available for use. We support natively remote password change capabilities on all of these systems. As you can see, pretty much anything that speaks Windows or SSH and Telnet, including the infrastructure devices, just the Palos, the Junipers, and and Dell switches and Cisco, etc. We also support LDAP as a mechanism for changing passwords. And we also do support integration with some cloud applications such as Salesforce.com, Google, and Amazon Office 365. And those are done via the native API in those services so that we can ask Secret Server to connect to Salesforce.com and change the password for a specific user without actually having to have any interaction with the user himself. These also capabilities can be extended with PowerShell to integrate systems which you may find that are not part of the ones that are supported natively, although we haven't found one yet, but I mean, that's a capability that is supported. Um, in terms of launchers, we support launchers for a number of services, and those are, again, as I was mentioning, Windows, Active Directory, or local accounts are typically launched by an RDP session. We have terminal session launchers that are typically associated to Linux, Unix, Mac infrastructure and network equipment. We have spoken about the cloud capability very briefly, and but we also have SSMS, which is the SQL Server Management Studio launcher, natively integrated, and also SAP and mainframe integration. You can also actually integrate the VNC or any or Toad if you use that for SQL creation, SQL sentences creation. But you can integrate pretty much any client that allows you to specify on the command line the username and password via creating a custom launcher. Doesn't require any coding capability, by the way. So how does, let me go back to the interface here. Yes. So as I was showing, the capability of changing password and the capability of launching session applies also to Unix systems. Apologies for my voice today is terrible. Here we have, for example, a normal user. So the username is Julio. This is the bottom line, the bottom part of that inverse pyramid of security that I've given you before. So here you can see that, if I have access to the secret, I can actually see the password. I can copy the password to the clipboard, and then I can paste it into my own client. But also I can use the launcher that is provided, and I can get a terminal session authenticated against the CentOS server. Yeah, so here it is, and oops, can't type today, and I can run any kind of command there. So coming back to the Unix system, so this is an example of a terminal session. It works also for SSH keys. So here I have a key users for which I requested justification because I love Thycotic. That sounds reasonable enough to give me access to it. And I have now access to this specific secret, which is, as I was mentioning, based on a username and password, but also have a private key, passphrase, which is actually empty in this case, and a public key. So if I authenticate with the launcher provided here, I will have a session as I was mentioning before, which is authenticated by a public key. And if I want to remotely change password, I just click this button, I generate a new password, I just tell the system to generate a new SSH key, and I click change. And at this point, the system will do all of those four operations which we mentioned before, such as going to the remote system and generate first a username, password, and combination of public, private key, and passphrase, plug them into the system, test them, and make sure that they are correctly changed. Now, this takes about 20 seconds, so I can see as this happen in real time into the password changing log to see if this is actually happening right now or not. Trust me, it does happen. It will take about 15-20 seconds. Okay, in the meantime, what I can show you is the capability to control the session recording, which I was mentioning before. Just before I do that, let me check. Okay, it's still changing password, so okay, will take a little bit of time. Now, in terms of session recording, as I was mentioning, the two most important launchers that we have are the terminal and the RDP one. So typically, you have employees, a third party, or other external users, players that are accessing our systems mostly legitimately. And what you want to do is you want to give them access in a controlled way. So what you do typically is you can given access via RDP. So the first thing you would do is to change the password regularly so that people can actually need to log into Secret Server to get that password from you, so that you can at least point in a specific day who had the access, who had the password for that system. But more than that, what you can do is you can hide the password. So if you hide the password, then people don't have the capability to change to copy the password and paste it into their own client, but they need to use the launcher that you provide, which has got two benefits. The first one is that you can control each session. So every time he clicks in and logs in session remotely, you have a log of that activity, an audit trail. But secondly, you have the capability um, to actually record the session, because these clients that we provide are include the capability of session recording, which, if it is enabled for the secret, allows it to take a view, a movie of what happened there. If you want to increase the level of security, you can also configure Secret Server as a proxy server. So here you would have users that log in via Secret Server into the internal machines, so you can restrict access in terms of TCP rules on the firewalls. And this allows you to have real-time monitoring, of course, via this session recording, but also to have a SSL decrypt and keystroke logs, which you can actually use to index the movie files that you create, and that you can then use to search for sessions. So, for example, you could say, well, I would like to search all the sessions where the username, where the user has typed the command passwd, for example, because those probably some users that try to change the password. So you can do that, and the system will give you a list of sessions where this has happened, and then you can actually index the movie to the point where the user actually typed that, so you don't have to wait and watch the entirety of the movies. You can just get an indication of where that happens. Right, in the meantime, let's go and see our secret, if it got changed the password or not. I'm sure it does, probably by now. Yes, it says here that the sentence key user has changed successfully the password, the private key, the passphrase, and the public key, and now he's happy to be used again. So where the most important use cases around changing password remotely and automating the processes of managing the life cycles of these secrets. Very simple example is when an admin leaves the company. So among the large number of reports that are available on Secret Server, which you can actually customize for both activity, secret activity, user activity, system activity, etc. We have something called the user audit. The user audit is a very cool feature where you can choose a user. In this case, we use Smart Acts. Pizza Margherita, I think it wasn't there any longer. And you could specify a time range for which the person had access to the systems. And you can just run a query to, sorry, I wanted to exclude the deleted secrets. Oops, what did I do here? Okay, sorry. Um, if I want to see all of the secrets which have been accessed by this Mr. Smartak during the specific period of time while he was actually at the organization. And I can see here that there are several secrets, and this in a normal production environment could be 200, 300, 400 different secrets. And what you can do at this point is either you look at the time of last access, and therefore you can try to determine whether you need to change password or not on these systems. Or if you are under strict compliance rules, or you want a peace of mind, or you're lazy like me, just click the expire now button, and this will automatically expire all of the secrets where the person had access to. What does it mean? It means that if the secret is actually configured for automatic password change, the system will go there and rotate all those passwords, all of those SSH keys, plant them into the remote machine, test them, encrypt them, store them, and make them available. All of that is done with one button, and trust me, that is massive peace of mind. Now you can see in the home page that some of these secrets are still marked as expired. Why? Because the system will take one at a time and go and change them. So again, this is a very practical way to do it. It takes about 15, 20 seconds sometimes to change the password. That depends on the type of infrastructure you have and the timeout that you said, that you could actually accelerate that and make it a bit faster. But yeah, if you wait here long enough, you'll probably see that some of these are being changed. The other information that is kind of useful when you get the user audit report out is that you can see, you can do investigations and forensics about the activity that the person has actually done. So if you're worried that the user has actually accessed a specific secret, such as the sentence root secret, during a specific period of time, and you want to check that is what has happened there. So you can have here a list of all the sessions that are available for all the users that had interaction with the secret. So in the case of Mr. Smart Arc, is well, in this case you can actually export all of this in Excel, so that it makes it easier to look and search for specific. Um, oops, where am I? For specific dates or events or users. But what I can see here is around November, probably last year, there was a session. Okay, well, I don't really have the sessions here, so you can probably pick up one randomly. Um, oops, sorry. Um, where is it gone? Okay, here, for example, I can see that Mr. Smart Arc has launched session against the root um, a credential in that Unix systems, and I can just download the movie and watch it on my screen. So this takes a couple of seconds. The movies are encrypted, of course, so they need to be accessed via the system. But you can see you can have a playback of what the person actually has done during that session. Again, this is now a piece of evidence that you can use for, if a legitimate activity has taken place, like in the case that we are showing here, where the person actually has increased the privileges to a root account via the sudoers file, and that's kind of a simple thing to do. But the important thing is that these things happen all the time. So that's where it makes a massive difference to have the capability to go back and look at these movies, and ideally the possibility to search them and look for specific events. Excuse me. One more important thing that I want to show you today, again for this kind of high level overview, is the capability of actually run discovery processes. So that was the third element of the main differentiators between a PAM system and a Vault. And this is, again, once you set up the discovery and you run it, you can have a visibility of the result. So here we have local accounts, service accounts, and domain accounts that are being discovered. Pretty much quite similar, but in terms of local accounts, what you're looking at is those users that are local to the machine rather than domain accounts. Here you can see that some of them are already inside secret server, so they're marked as managed. And this is, for example, the one that we um, used before. It was a secret server one backslash administrator. So this is we already have a secret for this credential, but we have a number of other users that are not inside secret service. So somebody with those credentials could potentially connect to that machine remotely and do whatever they need. So in this case, what you want to do is you want to import them. And again, if this is the first time you run it, you'll have hundreds and hundreds of local administrator accounts that you want to import. But again, it's still 4 clicks job. It's a very simple operation to do. So you would select the type of secret. You want to say where you want to save these. So I put them in here. because I already have a policy here that regulates how you can have access to them if you really wanted to. All I need to do is, I don't know the password, just create a new one and use a domain administrator account to be able to take over those passwords. That's it. You click on finish, and you have the capability to automatically import all of those secrets. So that's pretty cool. Um, in terms of services account, it's very similar, but what you do in this case is that you have a number of dependencies. You can find here on the domain controllers, for example. I found the system has discovered a local account, sorry, domain account, which is test SA, lab domain backslash test SA, which is running two services on the machine called DC1. And these are already been imported. And if you look at the secret that is associated with them, it is a normal account, and there are some dependencies. So these dependencies are those mappings that I was mentioning before, which are vital for allowing the capability for the system to actually um, rotate the service account passwords and also rotate them into the endpoint machines where these service accounts are used, so that the services can be launched and restarted without losing connection. And now, other than mapping this automatically, if you click on the remote password rotation, this secret, you can do it in the same way you would do it for a normal secret, whether that's automatically done on expiry date based on the policy, or whether it's done manually like I'm doing. The system will change the password, but not only on the machine itself, on the domain itself, it will also go and change them into the remote systems. And with this, I would like to ask you a few questions before we close the session. If there is any question, let me open the questions box uh, and see if we have any question coming up here. If there is any specific area that you would like to get more information on, I do remind you that we have partners, and I can see here people registered from pretty much all over Europe. But we have partners, distributors in every country, and more than happy to contact myself or Charlotte or Ilaria in any of these countries, or Martin, and make sure that we can give you access to the information you need. If you wanted to run a POC or a test of the software, we're happy to give you trial licenses so that you can see what the functionalities are. And I'm more than happy to take you through those setups in person. So I don't see any question here for the first time, probably, I would say, since I do this every quite frequently, unless I'm looking at the wrong table. Okay, so well, if there is no questions, so thank you very much for listening to me today. And do please get in touch with Charlotte or myself or Ilaria or Martin. If you need any additional information, it would be a pleasure to help you understand better how Thycotic can be of service when you need to improve the security posture of your organization. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for listening.